Hello everyone. So in last class we start discussing about conductors, and conductors are mainly used to conduct electricity because conductors are opposed to dielectric, have a lot of free electrons as we discussed in last class. Conductor have an abundance of free electrons because their conduction band overlap with that of valence band. Most conductors such as aluminium, copper, silver, they have so much of free electrons in the sense that they are very loosely attached to the lattice, and small amount of electric field that we would apply would give enough force, or it would accelerate the charge enough such that these charges would start moving and consisting a current. So the flow force on each electron inside the conductor is given by electric field acting on the conductor at that point is given as minus QE, where E is the electrical field and Q is the charge on the electron, and this minus charge indicate electrons would actually move opposite to the electric field. So while electric field for example is along x-axis, then the movement of electrons to that of electric field would be opposite to that of x-axis. However, a positive charge such as hole in a semiconductor would move along the direction of electric field. So conventionally the direction of electric field lines would represent the actual direction of positively charged particle. Since electrons are negative, they will move opposite. It turned out that the velocity with which these electrons move is drift velocity, is actually proportional to electric field. So drift velocity is related to electric field by a quantity of movability. Movability tells you us how mobile a charge is, in the sense that how easy is that the charge would start to move when electric field is applied, compared to hole, which you read in semiconductor device physics course. The movability of electrons is much higher. In fact, difference between the movability of holes and electrons is what makes the speed of device such as MOSFET be capped off. In other words, there is limit in the speed because the holes moved at a much slower speed compared to electrons, and one can actually use this drift velocity substitute in this expression of current density, and we know that current density is related to electric field as a velocity. So charge density rho v times electric field, you can see that charge density at any point will be given by n, q and movability mu. So I can write this for the case of electron, and I am not really using the minus sign. You can just have to remember that electrons moves against the field. However, their current would actually be considered in the direction opposite to electrons movement. So the conventional current flow from left to right, as the electrons would move from right to left. So I am not writing minus, but you have to mentally understand that the quantity would be negative whenever appropriate. So when you are considering electron flow, you have to use appropriate minus sign here. So the current density J is related to electric field by this expression, okay, where the charge density is given by this rho v multiplied by v. So this rho v is n is number of electrons per unit volume, q is charge, and therefore the corresponding to charge per unit volume, and mu is the movability of electrons, would tell you how quickly or how fast the electron is moving. Okay, so in common language, n, q, mu is given by a quantity which is represented by sigma. So this sigma stands for conductivity. In oldest day, it was measured in 1 by ohms or mho. The modern unit of measurement of conductivity is that Siemens. So conductivity is measured in Siemens, but these are sometimes also measured in terms of Siemens per meter. So conductivity or conductance is measured in terms of Siemens, and sometimes they are also measured in some terms of Siemens per meter. When you consider the appropriate quantity over here, or the Siemens, let us just say S stands for Siemens. So if you look at particular value of the conductivity, say copper has conductivity of 5 into 10 to the power 7. That for silver it is 6.7 into 10 to the power 7. Note that these conductivity, although they are quite high, they are not really infinite, right? So if you consider a metal of a perfect conductor, as they have a value of sigma going to infinity, they are not perfect conductor. There is some amount of resistivity almost in these conductors. Okay, resistivity is roughly inversely proportional to conductivity. So because sigma is not infinite, there is some amount of resistance. So if you want to take a capacitance, which we will be discussing very shortly, you know that the capacitance plates are made up of conductor or finite conductivity. What would happen if voltage is applied? Because the resistivity is not zero, there would be some amount of current flow that is happening inside the conductor itself, leading to losses. So these conductive loss become very important, especially at high frequency, as well when we discuss transmission line. Okay, moreover, the conductivity that we have represented over here as given the value of over here are not really constant, they are dependent on temperature. So for every 1 degree Kelvin or 1 degree Kelvin rise in the temperature, there is about 0.4% of change. In fact, this can be used as one of the temperature measurement, a very sensitive temperature measurement instrument. Now let us develop one very important relationship between voltage and current of the conductor. Before we further, let me remind you that J is equals to sigma E is the relationship that holds in most material, although the calculation of sigma is not really done by just giving you N, Q or mu, but it requires a quantum mechanics to properly give you the value. So this equation or the result J equals to sigma E looks like V equals to IR. How do we represent voltage? How do we relate voltage to electric field? We remember that voltage was potential difference between 2 points, and this potential difference was the integration of electric field along the path. In electrostatic case, what we have considered the line integral, hence the potential difference was independent of the path, but V was related to line integral of electric field. So it gives by some point 1 of the conductor to the point 2 of the conductor an electric field. So this is how voltage or potential difference between 2 points is related. We also know how to relate current J, because current is equals to J into S. So how you can relate current to J? I am not writing the integral relationship, but essentially idea is that you take a surface which has to be open, not closed. So you take a surface, and how are the J field lines coming out of the surface, and the integral those J lines over the surface, because it would happen that the surface you are considering will be at angle with respect to J field. So in that case, what will be the I? In that case, I will be integration of J in the space. Okay, so J and S are aligned perpendicularly in the sense that the surface is perpendicular to the J lines, and then the current through that open surface will be equals to Js. Consider a scenario in which I am considering a piece of conductor of certain length L, of conductor of uniform cross section area. So how do we calculate the potential between the two? So if you label these two point, one as point B, one as point A, The potential difference between point A and B is simply the line integral of electric field that is inside this conducting material. From point B to point A, so the integral of electric field inside this one, assuming dl point along this line B and A, whatever you do, you are going to get the corresponding potential difference. And if the electric field lines and dls are all aligned properly, and if electric field happen to be uniform over the piece of length we have considered, then you can simply replace by EL. Whether B is at higher potential and A is at higher potential, you have to determine appropriately. For example, if this is a situation in which B is at higher potential, then the potential difference between from B to A would called as potential drop. Okay, and otherwise potential from A to B is voltage rise. So you have to be very careful about that. Okay, so it is a typical circuit element of resistance that we consider. So we assume a potential drop and a current that is flowing in a line. So if you assume that current I is flowing in, the potential drop is V, the relationship between V and I is the resistance, or the ratio of V and I is resistance. Okay, so a potential difference or potential drop, let us assume it is given by E into L, and we have current as J into S, where S is cross section area of the open surface that you have looking at. So J lines are there, and then current through this piece of material will be J into S. So let us assume that these quantities are uniform. Now resistance, as we have just described, is given by potential, which is EL, by current through the conductor, and current through the conductor is Js. However, I also know J is related to electric field by sigma E. Okay, so I will put the value in this. This is your Ohm's law in electrostatic. So you substitute that, and this E in the numerator and denominator will cancel, and you will get L by sigma S. Okay, so this is the relationship that you must have seen quite earlier. Okay, so this is the expression for resistance of a wire which has a surface area S, it has a conductivity rho, that is made up of conductor with a conductivity rho and a total length L. A uniform wire of cross section area S, conductivity rho and length L. Now conductivity is inverse of resistivity, so you can rewrite this equation as rho L by S. Okay, and this will give you resistance. Of course, this is resistance of a piece of a conductor that we consider, where everything was uniform. Now if you want, you can journal relationship between electric field and current density and the resistance. You have to consider potential difference between 2 points. So the line integral of electric field between two parts divided by the current that is coming out of the surface. So this is the definition of resistance. One can actually think of this as definition of resistance. What is important point about this definition is that the electric field could be non-uniform, J could be non-uniform, and in fact one can actually develop a point form of resistance. So instead of calling resistance of a piece, one can also say resistance at every point. That led to the concept of non-uniform and varying resistance. So in order to get this non-uniform or varying resistance, you need electric field and J field to be varying, or they should be non-uniform as well. So let us close the discussion on conductor by looking at the boundary condition. For now, let us look at boundary condition of D field and E field. We will not touch the boundary condition of J field because I want to keep the boundary condition for current when we have also discussed the magnetic field. Okay, so right now I don't want to clutter our boundary condition by taking J field. Although for a very simplified case you can see that J field has to be continuous across the surface. Now before we talk about boundary condition, here is something we want to ask. Let us say take a piece of metal or piece of conductor, and then we placed some charges inside. Let us place some charges in the body of the conductor. What do you expect to happen? Now what happen is that these charges which are placed inside the conductor conducting body would rearrange themselves or migrate themselves in such a way that charge would actually appear on the surface. Okay, of course, as we have seen already, discussed already, it is not necessary that these are the same charges that would appear on the surface. So we discussed this fact that when we take current and electrons are flowing, it is not necessary that the first electrons would be the one that is actually coming out of the particular piece of conductor that you are considering, right? What would happen is electrons would go to next lattice and occupy the next possible space. From that position it would kick out an electron, and this process would happen in something that we talk about in the analogy of the car movie in the traffic. So similarly here what happen is when you say that the charges get distributed, it is not necessary the original charges get distributed. The charges would go inside the lattice into the conductor, but they would essentially come out in the sense that they would actually be appearing on the surface. Not necessarily the original one, but the rearranged charge. From the point of view of observers standing outside the conductor, what is it simply mean is you take some charges, put in the metal. You might probably want to dig a small hole through a drill and then place some charges inside, but rather distribution themselves in such a way that they would appear on the surface and contribute to the surface charge density. So no charges which is placed inside the conductor body would remain there, and all the charges would appear on the surface. Okay, in such a way that these charges do not appear randomly. These charges would appear in such a way that there is no electric field inside the conductor. This is very, very crucial result that you need to remember. Even moderately conducting material would have very negligible amount of electric field. So electric field inside this is the property of conductor. One can't really define this or drive this condition. It is essentially the nature of conductor material. You might of course ask how much time would it take for these charges which are placed inside to come or visible on the surface, or they get distributed on the surface, and this time is called as relaxation time, and the relaxation time for charge is around 10 to the power minus 19 or the power of 18 seconds. Okay, so this charge would be allowed, moved, or would be placed on the surface. Again remember, it is not original charge which are moving, because you can calculate and see the velocity required will be very large. So it is effective charge that appear on the outside. Now when such a thing happen, if you go back to the metal where there is a certain charge available on the surface, I am indicating only few charges, but you should imagine that there is actually a layer of charges here, and there is a surface charge layer that is surrounding the center. They are just below the conducting material. It's not like they are outside, it is just below the conducting material. Of course they can't leave the conductor. This is very interesting reason why they can't leave, but something that we will not be talking about it. So suffice to say that conductors are, although we are drawing them as attaching on the outside of the surface, they are not leaving the surface. So they are occupying very small distance, but they are just below the conducting surface. Now if you ask what is electric field inside, obviously electric field is 0. What is D field inside? D field inside is also 0. Why? Consider interior surface. Ask what is the internal D field. From Gauss law you see that D dot ds is over an entire surface of this SI will equals to 0, and that implies that DI will also be equals to 0. So we also seen that D field is 0. Okay. So now we are good to go with boundary conditions. Consider a free space or a dielectric, and then consider conductor here. We know that charges, if at all they are placed, they would be available on the surface of the conductor, forming a surface layer of charges. Now to obtain a boundary condition of D and E, we follow the procedure that we adopted in the class of dielectric. So first imagine that there is a path which has a certain width delta W, a certain height delta H. Okay, and the path is transferred in a particular direction satisfying the right hand rule. Now apply electric field, the line integral around this path. If you apply the line integral around this path, what you find is line integral must be equals to 0. So the line integral of this part that we have shown here would be E tan in tangential in conductor and this is multiplied with delta W, then minus E tangential in free space or outside space of the conductor. So let's call this as free space, and E tangential in free space multiplied by delta omega. Some terms would be multiplied with delta H, that is normal component of electric field multiplied by delta H. This entire thing will becomes 0. Why it becomes 0? As we have seen in dielectric case also, delta H is approaching to 0. So this term delta H will get cancelled and you are only left with tangential electric field inside the conductor into delta W. Okay. Now as we know, of course there can't be any tangential electric field inside the material, inside the conductor. Why? Because if there was any tangential electric field, then it would starts to move the charges. So charges movement is not considered electrostatic and there will not be any tangential field. So or this tangential field would move the charge in such a way that after a very short while, this relaxation time, the charges are there in equilibrium. So the tangential electric field inside conductor will be 0. Okay. So now to obtain this equation, continuity condition, what is there? That the tangential component is also equals to 0 in free space, because all is 0. Okay. So the tangential electric field inside the conductor will be 0, which simply means that the tangential electric field just outside would also equals to 0. So the electric field tangential component both inside and the conductor as well as outside the conductor will equals to 0, and this is the continuity for tangential electric field. Now to obtain the continuity condition for normal D field, we imagine writing a box. So you can think this as a kind of shape that we normally take. So I still have surface charges, and now what happened? I have two surface. One is top surface, another is my bottom surface. The direction of the normal is opposite on both the surface. Outside let us call D field normal for free space, and this is D normal in conductor. because this is the only component that is necessary to consider in particular scenario. So d normal in free space and d normal in conductor. Now we have just shown that the d field inside material will actually be equals to 0. So normal is also 0 in conductor. So if you leave this component out, what you have is d normal free space into whatever surface area of this top surface that is there. Okay, so let us say delta S. This must be equals to total charge that I have here. Okay, so that is, let us say delta S, and this must be equals to total charge that I have here. So that must be equals to volume charge density rho v delta S into delta H. That would be the total charge that is contained. Of course, as delta H goes to 0, this becomes rho S into delta S. Both the side will get cancelled. Okay, and I left with normal component of d equals to rho S. This implies that the normal component in free space, and since this is the only component that would be available because normal component inside the conductor is 0, so I can dispense off this all the free space idea and call this as even 2 also. Okay, so now this d nf is equal to rho s. Now this is the relationship for normal component of d field, and tangential component of d field is simply 0, and E tangential is also 0. So from this you can also find out what would be the normal component of electric field. Normal component of electric field will be rho s by epsilon of free space. So if it is not free space dielectric, if it is different dielectric, then you need to replace this epsilon with relative permeability. Okay, so the normal component of D is equals to rho s, and normal component of electric field is equals to rho s by epsilon. So this simply implies that normal component of electric field in free space. Okay, alright, now we summarize what we have learned about conductor. For a conductor, let me write down 3 points. Conductor have no internal field, that is electric field inside. E field is 0. They also do not have D field, so essentially they do not have any field inside that of material. And the field that is D field or electric field are always normal to the conductor. The field are always normal to the conductor if there is any external field that is applied to the metal. It will induce charge on the conductor surface consisting of surface layer of charge rho s. So most importantly, because there is no electric field, it means that the potential of a given conductor is actually constant, and we call this as equipotential surface. We say that a conductor of arbitrary shape is actually an example of equipotential surface. So please note that these conductor that we have considered have not electric field or D field. There are no field inside. We also have seen that the field are normal to the conductor. They also induce charge, and charges are induced on the conductor surface when they are immersed in the electric field, and these conductors are equipotential surface.